there are killings by Boko Haram, ISIS, Fulani herdsmen, people we believe are from a certain part of the country, right? The north. And these people, all they get is just a slap on the wrist for all the crimes. In fact, a vast majority of the killings that have now been declared globally a genocide is carried out by the Fulani killer herdsmen, the Fulani ethnic militia.
So you've got to say that they're winning the narrative, but I don't think the Biafran lobbyists are going to give up. I think they're going to be there pushing their agenda.
What we are saying is state police, community police, they are not the solution to our problems. Let us be honest to ourselves. It is failure of leadership. The president is the solution to this problem.
You see, Igbo land has been peaceful all this while. Even then that ESN was very active, they know the purpose of establishing ESN is to protect the forests of Southeast. But some people try to infiltrate Igbo land to make it look as if ESN is not doing what they are supposed to do, thereby creating some kind of commotion. I'm not saying that there is no bad eggs that are operating just like every other region in Nigeria. So why is the Southeast one always different? You remember what happened the other day? Somebody came on air. I don't think that thing is ordinary. I'm going to show you something in that regards. How can somebody just come on air, an Igbo man come on air and say, let them kill Nnamdi Kanu? Something that another tribe have not wished. Something that a Yoruba man did not wish for Nnamdi Kanu. Something that a Niger Delta person did not wish for Nnamdi Kanu. A Northerner did not wish for Nnamdi Kanu. In fact, they were saying that Nnamdi Kanu is a prophet and also a prophet with solution. And an Igbo person is now coming to declare that if they kill Nnamdi Kanu, that there will be peace. And who told him that there is no peace in the Southeast? You see, you can only give a dog a bad name to hang the dog. Something is cooking, something is cooking. But one thing I love the Igbo race, which is my race, is that our hands are clean. And anybody that goes to Equity with clean hands is always on the succeeding path. Well, let's start with this, what Joseph Okechukwu said.
Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing great today. Okay, so I watched in absolute consternation the video in which a so-called Igbo man was declaring that the only way normalcy returns in eastern Nigeria and Igbo land is if the Tinubu administration would kill Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. And he was very emphatic about it. And the lunatic went ahead to say that, or claim that this is what every Igbo person wants. A very insane, unhinged, lost soul who does not have any clue what he wants out of life is on live TV declaring that his lunacy, his satanic imaginations is shared by a vast majority of Igbo people. You don't know what you want. How do you know what every Igbo person wants as far as normalcy or security in Igbo land is concerned? This is why sometimes it looks like the other tribes in Nigeria tend to look down on us, because things like this make people feel like we lack corporate coordination. It's almost like we don't have a sense of self-preservation. This level of madness is what makes people look down on us, on who we are. And we are so much more than this animalistic behavior that was displayed on live TV. You are in a nation where, I mean, if we have to call a spade, where there are killings by Boko Haram, ISIS, Fulani herdsmen, people we believe are from a certain part of the country, right? The north. And these people, all they get is just a slap on the wrist for all the crimes. In fact, a vast majority of the killings that have now been declared globally a genocide is carried out by the Fulani killer herdsmen, the Fulani ethnic militia. And this is a very popular ethnic group in Nigeria. They have people in politics, they have people in the business world, they have people in education, in everywhere. How many times have you heard a Fulani person in any field come out to repudiate, to rebuke, to condemn what these Fulani guys are doing, despite the fact that these guys have killed hundreds of thousands, displaced millions of Christians who are now languishing in IDP camps across the nation of Nigeria. These guys have dispossessed so many Christians of their ancestral farmlands and homelands. And rather than kill them as they have killed, what the government is doing is pardoning and integrating them into the society that they have already traumatized. It is because of the politics that they have placed around their ethnic group, the politics of self-preservation. Because of that, the government had no choice than to preserve them. That's why the Nigerian soldiers will meet a killer Fulani herdsman who has killed and is ready to kill even the soldier. And rather than kill the person, they take him and hand him over to police, who then hands them over to the team that will take them to a rehabilitation center and give them money, and then give them the opportunity to come into the society and become whatever they want to be in life. This is happening as we speak. Right now. Sunday Igbo is from the Yoruba tribe. He is to the Yorubas in the west what Nnamdi Kanu is to the Easterners, to the Igbos in the east. Igbo, with everything he has done, is today receiving chieftaincy title, getting support from traditional rulers and his people in government. No one is calling for him to be killed for any reason. And even if anybody will call for Igbo to be killed, he will never be a Yoruba man. If anybody will call for a Fulani person to be killed or punished the way they disempower pregnant women and kill like it's nobody's business, it will never be from a Fulani person. Why would it be an Igbo person doing this? No, it is not just that stupidity that some of our people are known for. There is something much more behind this one, and I'm going to explain it to you. That is why I'm making this video. You see, in criminal law, there is something that is called probable cause. Probable cause, like you want to pin somebody down to something so you can kill them or jail them for a very long time or do something to them, but you have to prove that cause. You have to prove that this person deserves this. You call it probable cause, right? You can look it up. Now, the probable cause that they are looking for here is a cause that will enable them to still go ahead to slam Nnamdi Kanu with that death sentence they couldn't slam on him when the temperature was very high. When they knew that the tension in the nation was high, that if they had done that, that something may have gone wrong. So they pulled back on that death sentence. And I am telling you today that what you are seeing is not just an off-the-cuff thing. It is well calculated, premeditated to enable these people to still return that death sentence on Nnamdi Kanu so that they can kill him. The thing that this guy has done now on TV happened simultaneously with a so-called documentary that has also been released by somebody from the East which is detailing some of the evils or some of the crimes they believe ESN has committed in eastern Nigeria. So they just chronicled it, and it's happening at the same time. This guy is on TV saying, kill Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. The other guy is there saying, showing what ESN has done. That Nnamdi Kanu, of course, is the leader of IPOB, which, of course, owns ESN. So you can see the coordination. You can see the dots connecting. That they just want the whole world to see that we have a good reason to kill this guy, so that they can now slam the death sentence on him any minute from now and then move to kill him. This is what is going on, and that's what this is meant to accomplish. But you see, it is not only for them to kill Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, it is also so that they can militarize the entirety of eastern Nigeria. Because the moment that documentary is accepted, that ESN has done this and done that and done that, all they need to do is to say that that same ESN is still powerful today. That's what they will say. And you're not going to be able to prove to the whole world and beat them in an argument that ESN is no longer active in eastern Nigeria. No, they will say that it is still active. You will see some killings spring up here and there. You know how they make those things happen, right? And they will tell you this is from ESN. And the next thing you will see, in the same manner that military has scattered, has been spread all over the northern part of Nigeria, they will send the military to every nook and cranny of eastern Nigeria, and eastern Nigeria will suddenly, overnight, become one of the most militarized regions in Nigeria. And then the silent killings that we have all been speculating for so many years will now suddenly begin to happen. You see, they have used your Igbo brothers and sisters to bring about the absolute destruction of our people. And they don't know that they are being used in this manner. So what that foolish thing did on TV was not just to betray his ancestry and the womb that gave birth to him. He has just been used in a plan, a very long plan, to change the whole Igbo nation. Because they have seen that the Igbo land is rising out of the ashes. They have seen that the light has come back to Igbo land, and the sun is suddenly rising quietly without the help of the federal government of Nigeria. So now the next thing is to go and militarize Igbo land and make development absolutely impossible. We have to be smart sometimes. We will not let this lie down. We will fight this thing to stupor, and we will do whatever it takes. Let me tell you, anybody who has plans to invade Igbo land or militarize Igbo land, please, if you have never believed me before, believe me now. Don't do it. Don't do it. God bless you. And don't touch Mazi Nnamdi Kanu.
So, my people, you have seen that this guy that said that thing on the television, on air, everywhere, people are hearing this thing. Well, I still believe that probably the people that are engineering these things, they have started seeing light that Biafrans are not giving up, that the Southeast are not giving up. Because you cannot beat a child and say the child will not cry. The power, the pressure is too much recently, and the Igbos are not giving up in this fight. Well, the guy that said this thing, probably they are promising him one or two things. He said, they told him, can you come on air and say this thing? He said, yes, I can do it. He now went on air and said it. The lunatic, as he was being referred to, you know, he left the major thing and be saying, scratching the surface. See, the fowl left the knife that killed, cut off his head and be bending neck for pot. Yes. The source of all these problems is that the Biafrans or the Southeasterners, we are not being treated fairly, to the extent that is open that the Igbo man cannot be president. If you say I cannot be president, I'll look for my own country where I can govern myself. It's as simple as that. You cannot beat a child and say the child will not cry. Well, I want to show you this thing. Probably some of you have seen it, but this thing is making wave. The old southeastern region is making wave in terms of, being on their own because they are unfairly treated. The Niger Deltas are shouting that their own oil does not belong to them. If somebody from another place owns the oil, Southeast, the same thing. Gas pipeline, it will pass to another country, and the Southeasterners cannot use the gas themselves. Haba. There is no place where they can, be sourcing this gas from the Southeast. Just imagine. So what will make them not to look for their own self-determination? Let's watch this.
So you've got to say that they're winning the narrative, but I don't think the Biafran lobbyists are going to give up. I think they're going to be there pushing their agenda, and who knows? I mean, you could see some concessions being made. People are talking about the fate of.
So these are the things that they will see, and they will say that these people are very serious on this secession. Yes, that they are going to do something to clamp them. Meanwhile, the things that are happening in Nigeria is pathetic. You see farmers having problem with the headers. Somebody will plant something in the farm, he cannot harvest it. And at the same time, you are talking about food security. I will show you something that is happening everywhere, but this one is part of the things that are happening. And why has there not been a federal law banning open grazing? Why has there been, at this point, a federal law inside the exclusive list banning this open grazing, knowing that this is what they are leveraging on to cause problems everywhere in Nigeria if there are no plans for, something else? And why would people not, seeing all these things, why would they not say that they are not doing it again? They want to stay on their own. Why? Just watch this thing now. So this is one of the things that are causing problem, and they are leveraging on to, cause invasion in people's, land. But I tell you that many people are not happy with what is going on in Nigeria today. And even the elites are preaching, what is not working well, how government is going to make these things to work well if they really care. But virtually nothing is functional. The rule of law is not respected. Many things are not done in a proper way. So how do you expect the society to function where people do anything they want? Let's watch Sanusi. He just have a little thing he dropped. But I know some people may not like him. They said he has been the sponsor or he has been in collaboration with these people. I don't know. But what I'm looking at is what is coming out from his mouth at this particular point. Yes, and another person venting his anger in the situation. Well, if you want to learn, you learn. If you want to, use your head, you use your head. But if you are, if you don't care about the next 4 years shege that is coming, that will be upgraded. Let's see what happens.
No, he's doing the same thing. He's not competent. He's a hard fool. He should go. We don't want Tinubu again. He doesn't have a plan for this country. He should go. He's sucking our blood. Tinubu is a demon. He's a hard fool. He should go. We don't want Tinubu again. He doesn't have a plan for this country. He should go. He's sucking our blood. Tinubu is a demon.
You are taught that liberal democracy is built on 3 pillars. One is free and fair elections. The second is respect for the rule of law. And the third is respect for fundamental human rights. We should ask ourselves, which of these exists today? Do we believe that our elections are free and fair? Do we believe that the rule of law is being respected? Do we believe that fundamental human rights are being protected? If the answer to these is no, the question is this situation sustainable? So the greatest danger, and this is the way we're warning about subsidy and the economy, people don't listen. Today you can keep saying they will not listen. But the reality is the entire democratic system cannot survive if we do not obey the rules of the game. Okay? Something will happen. And it could either happen in a controlled manner or happen in a manner that becomes a problem for us. So I think the politicians themselves need to understand, you have set the rules, at least obey.
What we are saying is state police, community police, they are not the solution to our problems. Let us be honest to ourselves. It is failure of leadership. The president is the solution to this problem. It is time for the president to act now. The country is going down. If you look at the social media everywhere, drums of war, civil war is gradually moving. You will see Muslim clerics, Christian clerics preaching hatred. You will see people talking about tribes anyhow. Garbage in, garbage out. If you put an incompetent person to head a place, it will not bring good result. So why are we keeping people if we know there is no good result there? So Mr. President, is it the dividend of democracy that we are talking about? Killings every day? What kind of a country is it? What is the value of human life in Nigeria? What is the value? We should ask ourselves. Killings are taking place everywhere. We don't care. It is the primary responsibility of government protection of life and property. The APC convention, the police mobilizing 5,000 people in the place that is no more than 5 hectares. They are deploying helicopter. Throughout the killings in Plateau, did they deploy any helicopter? Did they deploy 5,000 policemen? How many policemen? How many hours did it take? When we come here, we talk. They say we are against government. What is against the government? If government is not doing the right thing, we will continue to talk. It is time for the president to act. He should sack the people that are not competent. He has said it so many times. There are some people that are not competent. Today, a lot of injustice taking place in Nigeria and we are keeping quiet. We must address this insecurity. If we don't address it, we'll wake up one day and we'll see civil war, or we'll see everywhere is blocked and people are being killed. We can continue to come here and be reading motions, passing resolution, 1-minute prayer, take emergency. These are the things that we've been doing for more than 2 years. What is the solution? The solution is on the table of the president, and it is time for him to act. Anybody can be a victim of what is happening. That is my route. I always go to Bauchi through that road, and I don't even carry more security men, so anybody can fall victim of what is happening. Mr. President, the amount of energy, the amount of resources our security agencies are deploying on politicians is enough to solve some of this problem. The kind of resources, the kind of people they are putting on politicians is enough to solve this problem. If it was political rally or what they say, you will have seen so many people there. You have seen helicopter, or you have seen policemen there. Some people that are not competent surrounded the president, and they are giving him wrong advice. Wrong. Some people that don't even mix with people. Some people that are hooked up somewhere in a small place. They don't listen to people. We are representing people. We always listen to the people. They call us. They tell us what is happening. So Some people, you don't even have access to them, and they are the one advising government on what to do. We will continue to have this problem. And if this thing is a democracy we're craving, I have no this thing. I can one day stand here and resign, or I can put up anything. There is no, what is the dividend? Every day, this thing. Mr. President, as a solution to this, we must place value for human life. Even if it is 30 million, even if it is Muhammad, so that once they kill somebody, the government has to pay that money. Maybe if they look at the amount of money they are going to be paying every day, I think it will make the government to sit up. In Zamfara, just yesterday, about 40 people, this thing. If you charge the government to be paying 50 million for each soul, I think the government will wake up. We can't continue. Our people are being killed every day. They are being buried like garbage. You look at the people in the hospital, they are there, left on their own. So what is the value? We must ask ourselves, what is the value of human life in Nigeria? And every day, we keep seeing headsmen, Fulani, everything they call it. Arrest the people. The work of the security is not even mobilizing. It's to prevent these things. It's not about telling us that after crisis, you have mobilized something. It's not the work. So we are here every day, we bring motion, we bring things. It is time, everything is on top of the president table. A lot of things are going on and he has to take action. If he doesn't take action, these things will continue to take place. This thing is something that we can solve. We have people that can solve these problems. But because of hypocrisy, because they don't have godfathers, they are being relegated to nothing. Today you go to the police are demoralized, no discipline in the police, because you create a special promotion that you keep promoting people that are giving money, people that are close to politicians, people that are close to you, whereby some people are there in Maiduguri fighting Boko Haram, fighting so many things. Even their allowances are not paid. Somebody is sitting in the office every month. You are giving him special promotion, giving money. Without the police, we cannot achieve anything. No country will progress under democracy without the police. And there is no discipline there. The morale of the officers totally down. There was an officer that called me. He said because of that special promotion, he felt like joining Boko Haram. He said that is what he felt. And another policeman that met there's another policeman that met Senator Allah. What he told Allah, you can confide on that Allah. Because of this injustice that is taking place. A lot of injustice is taking place in the country, and we are not addressing it, and we are thinking that we'll have positive result. It's not possible. We are not the only country that have God. Every other country they are praying to God. Other country, every other person, they have God. We should do the right thing. We can't be blaming God. Things will happen, we say, God. Prayer will not solve the problem, but we have to do the right thing. If we don't do the right thing, we'll continue. Unless we don't care with our people. You can hear the narratives of the DSP when he was talking about American citizens. If one American dies, either in war front or anywhere, they will spend anything to go and get that dead body. They can spend anything. They can protect it anywhere. He doesn't have to be in that country, any country. They will move there to protect their person. Do we do it? Instead, even the people that are doing the right thing, we want to eliminate them. We want to seal their mouths. Which country is this? We have to do the right thing. If not, I see no reason why we'll continue to be talking about democracy when there is no democracy. The democracy is about respect to the rule of law, to the constitution. Do we do it? Do we respect the constitution? Do we respect the rule of law? Do we do it? So which one are we practicing? Why are we sitting here? Is it that all of us, we don't have work to do apart from this? We should try and form any kind of government that want to, but the democracy is not working. It's not working. If this is democracy, then it's a shame. This is not democracy. Democracy is something that at least the people will be protected. People are not protected now. Mr. President, I just have to just sit down. It's not about a passing resolution. It's about acting on those resolutions. The people surrounding the president should not look at the National Assembly. Even if they don't want us, let them look at what we are saying. Let them implement the good thing. You can decide to say you don't like me, no problem, don't like me. But the thing, if what I'm saying makes sense, do it. Do it. And this is the result of what is happening. This is the result. Because of few individuals, we have compromised democracy, we have compromised our security, we have compromised everything. When people make statements to say, do this, they will say it's enemy. Anybody now giving his own advice to the government, before you know they say you are an enemy to the government. Is government not, is democracy not a government that people will advise? Because it's a representative government. It's government represented by everybody. We have every right when we're sitting. And when you are there, it's just like football. If you are inside, you will not see the mistake, but somebody that is outside will see the mistake, and that is the time maybe he will provide solution for you. So they are there. They will not see the mistake. Is it everybody that will get to the villa, or is it everybody that will get to the executive to tell them this thing that we are doing in the National Assembly that cannot solve the problem? 18 months ago, I said the killings will continue, and if they don't act, the killing will continue. It's bad. It's very bad. We are not safe. If you think that maybe you are moving with a sarin, you are moving with a policeman, if they block it, you will be surprised the security men that they are protecting you, they will be the first people to run and leave you. They will be the first to leave you. So we are not safe. We should try and communicate and do the right thing. Thank you very much.
Well, that is coming from a senator, and many of them are not happy with the situation now, with the way things are going. Problem there. But let's have a detailed discussion of this. Relax and watch this. There are things you are going to get, from this discussion. Let's go.
Washington-based lobbying firm hired by ADC presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar has begun submitting DOJ records on President Bola Tinubu's 1993 U.S. drug forfeiture case to members of the Trump administration and Congress. And Nigerians are reacting. Trending at number 2, a former DSS operative, Dennis Amakiri, has broken his silence in a new book revealing explosive details about the final moments of the late military ruler, General Sani Abacha, saying he died of cardiac arrest during an intimate encounter at Aso Rock in the early hours of June 8th, 1988. We have the details. Trending at number 3, a shocking education scam uncovered in Lagos. Operatives of NSCDC raided a fake university operating from a 3-bedroom apartment, rescuing 106 young people who had paid up to $1.5 million in fake admission fees. Can you imagine? Now here is where you come in. Join the conversation. Use the hashtag What's Trending with Ojiokwe. Comment on our live feed. And of course, Leke. Tell me which of these stories matters most to you, because for the next hour, we're going into everything that has Nigeria and the rest of the world buzzing. But first, reactions are trailing Senator representing Borno North, Tahir Mongono's alarm over the non-implementation of the 2026 budget capital components, describing it as potentially an impeachable offense. Let's watch.
Implementation of a budget is a function of the revenue that government was able to collect. From the figures that you have read out and from the brief that we have gotten from the Nigeria Revenue Service, almost all the revenue generating agencies have exceeded their target of revenue collection. If we have exceeded the target of our revenue collection, it is inherently contradictory for government to woefully fail to implement the budget. Where are these revenue going to? If the budget, for example, 2025 budget has not been implemented, and we have to roll over 70% of 2025 to 2026, and that with the promise that 30% will be implemented before March. Up to March, even 30% was not implemented. National Assembly has to extend the lifespan of the budget up to September to allow government to implement just 30% component of 2025 budget. The issue of 2026 have not arisen completely, has not arisen. Has not even started up initial. It has not even arisen. So, don't you think is it not contradictory? Or why are these revenues going to the extent that the budget is not being implemented? It is through the implementation of the budget that dividends of democracy is being brought to the doorsteps of the people. If the budget is not being implemented, why is the function of government? For example, security of lives and property of the people is the primacy of governance. All the security agencies that we have been interacting with them, they are reporting to us that they have received zero allocation in terms of their capital. Where are these monies going to? This is my question. Why is budget not implemented? Because it is a breach of the law and it's an impeachable offense.
Well, Senator Mongono's question cuts to the heart of Nigeria's governance crisis. If revenue agencies are exceeding their targets, where exactly is the money going? The numbers he presented are damning. The 2025 budget was only 70% implemented. The outstanding 30% was rolled over into 2026, and now the 2026 budget has barely begun. Security agencies have received zero capital releases despite worsening insecurity. The senator called it what it is, a breach of Appropriation Act and an impeachable offense. The defense minister says debt servicing and personnel costs are squeezing implementation. But Nigerians are asking, if we are borrowing at record levels and revenue is exceeding targets, who exactly is benefiting? Good morning, Dr. Abati. Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, Rufai. Of course, the budget grilling and that Senate panel was quite the panel. Tough. I mean, you heard Senator Mongono there saying that non-implementation of this budget is an impeachable act. And of course, Finance Minister was there defending the fact that all of these debt servicings are, sort of the reasons why we're not implementing the 2026 budget. But, like I said, this has generated reactions online. I'll take Nasser's post on Facebook. He wrote, the question which were asked by Chief Whip of the Nigerian Senate, distinguished Senator Mongono, were about the accountability in governance, and it is in the right direction. This is not political, because obviously it had almost turned into a political, theater as well. Rufai, before I come to you, I'd like to take a response so you can tie both of the stories together. Meanwhile, we received a clarification from the Office of the Deputy Speaker, Benjamin Kalu, which stated that the controversial 1 billion naira Bende church allocation in Abia State is actually 780 million naira after deductions, and that the funds were earmarked not just for musical instruments, but also for broader youth reorientation and social support program, and to equip over 130 churches to engage young people against vices, including drug abuse, sexual offenses, and violent crime. I mean, this seems like, a reasonable clarification, but Nigerians are asking why it took public outrage to explain it. Transparency in budgeting should not require a press release after the fact. I mean, the Deputy Speaker is saying that, after deduction is not 1 billion, it's 780 million, and that is going to the youth, not just for musical equipment. Your thoughts?
I don't know what to do again, Oji. a deputy speaker justify breaking of the law in the country. Oji, this country has become a joke. I hate to say that. Dr. Abati, please.
It's not a joke. It's our country too.
It's our country too, but it's looking like a joke. Dr. Abati, is based on Nigeria Constitution, is the government supposed to allocate money to churches, to say youth rehabilitation program? Can the church that is not paying taxes do their youth rehabilitation program? Is government supposed to allocate money to the churches?
With all the money they are taking from
with all the money
from Ayo
and their tax free. See, this explanation.
You've always supported tax.
This explanation, I will have begged whoever wrote this, please, you shouldn't have written it, because it's one of the dumbest things I've read in recent times. So dumb, so ignorant, so plausible, foolish. Next time, when we raise concern, please don't react. I know you have spokespeople that will have to react to justify the poverty empowerment program that we are doing with giving these people writing jobs, because they're part of poverty empowerment. See, let's stop reacting and calling Nigerians idiotic, because that statement just called all of us idiotic. Justifying this, man, that spending, if we have a country, should be revoked forthwith. So church can't do their sensitization program. It's government spending. They used to do church sensitization program. I just want to ask Oji, when we in our Ayilala shrine want to do,
where's your shrine?
Ayilala shrine, Onisheshi, when we want to do our sensitization, or our Igbo shrine, we want to do our sensitization against insecurity in society, is government going to give me money? Can I put a request forward and say, our Ayilala, we want to do sensitization for insecurity in society or youth mobilization? Because we Igbo people, Ayilala people, Ogun worshippers like us, we can also do sensitization. There's no need for a state religion.
Let me even read further that clarification.
Oh yeah, then there's a part that we love there.
13 federal political electoral wards and over 200 churches. So about 200 churches are being catered to. What part are you talking about?
My question is, how many factories does Bende have?
Okay. They didn't say anything about...
they can never have factories.
And the first phase is going to 130 churches.
They can never have factories.
Was it labeled constituency project? This expenditure.
You see, whoever
it's beginning to sound like constituency.
Please, should not have even written that there. Yeah. Look for other ways to justify.
It's our duty to clarify.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, please. Let me even... I can teach you how to steal if you can't steal effectively.
No, we don't do that.
No, let me teach you how to steal. See, you can say research for snake. For snake, you know snake venom I was talking about.
We're talking about yesterday.
Yeah, you can say a research for snake venom. You can go and conduct a study and say there's improvement in snake bite and everything.
Are you encouraging?
No. The country is oti bagay. So let's be selling it.
At the end of the day, Nigeria is a secular state.
It's a secular. That's just it. No, I'm saying it's stupid. That's what I'm saying. At least they should be more sensible. So I'm teaching them better things to write. Include snake venom in the next year budget. Which other first one? The other first one.
I wanted to talk about
the first one,
Mongono.
The Mongono own. Oji, do you know there are many things we have even forgotten?
Yeah.
Oji, you see, somebody was saying that it will take you 10 years. We celebrate incompetence so much. And it is beginning to show. That's what Mongono is saying. And Mongono, please, if you say this thing, Oji, can we both tell Mongono to say it with his full chest?
That's what he said. He said that it's an impeachable offense.
Say it with your full chest and stop backtracking. Don't. The video is out there. We just have to say it for the sake of reference purposes. Secondly, look at the budget cycle. Anybody that wants to change Nigeria, you will see it. Anybody that wants to do otherwise, you will see it. When President Tinubu first got in, what was he more concerned about? New presidential jet, 150 billion. Do you know that till today? If Eyidaya Baribe said that the money didn't come to the National Assembly for the approval of that presidential jet, President Tinubu has not accounted for that presidential jet. So when you say you need to give people 2 terms, is it people that when they just got into power, they bought yachts, they bought presidential jets? That is their priority. They bought cars for these National Assembly members. That is their priority. Are these the people that you think are ready?
All right.
And now we can't fund the budgets.
Oh. All right, fantastic. I guess we'll move on. I wanted you to just touch on the fact that it's, the fact that Mongono said that this was an impeachable offense. I mean, since you are a lawyer, just really briefly, just to give context to that.
To the extent that the budget is called an act of the National Assembly. It's an appropriation act. Right. It is law. Correct. And the government is bound to respect a law that has been enacted. Right. Government is not expected to break the law. That's it. If there are issues, you go for supplementary budgets and you explain. Right. But here in Nigeria, which law do we even respect? The use of public funds to support religion is in itself a violation of the law. Correct. Which is Section 10 of the 1999 Constitution. And what we're saying is that there should be greater transparency and accountability. Okay. But Minister Edele has gone to the same forum to say that, look, we have not borrowed up to 80 trillion naira. So what have you borrowed? All right. What have you done with it? He says, well, it's foreign exchange and legacy liabilities. Even the economists are saying... You didn't talk about the consequences of breaking the law. That's what I was asking you about. But I mean, that's a conversation for another program. Okay. Now to politics. With a diplomatic bombshell, a Washington-based lobbying firm hired by Atiku Abubakar under a 12-month, $1.2 million contract says it has begun submitting over 60 pages of U.S. Department of Justice records on President Tinubu's 1993 drug trafficking forfeiture case to members of the Trump administration, Congress, and senior congressional staff. The firm says many U.S. government officials were previously unaware of the DOJ's allegation and intends to bring them to Trump's attention, particularly ahead of Tinubu's planned meeting with Trump at Onga in September. The documents allege that between 1988 and 1991, Tinubu opened and controlled multiple U.S. bank accounts used to receive and transfer funds alleged to be proceeds of heroin trafficking, resulting in a 1993 civil forfeiture settlement of $460,000. Now, the president has consistently denied wrongdoing, and the Presidential Election Petition Court ruled in 2023 that the petitioners failed to prove any criminal convictions. But Nigerians are reacting online, and I'll take Temi Tokpe's post on X. He wrote, President Trump faces more serious allegations on a daily basis. This will easily endear him more to his Nigerian counterpart. Atiku is only fooling himself. Meanwhile, Nigeria is ripe for strengthening its treason laws. While Miguel wrote, just imagine Atiku invested that $1.2 million on any poverty alleviation programs in Adamawa. But he chooses to waste that huge amount of money in chasing the ghost for a man who has been trying to run the country for decades. His biggest strategy is still running to the US for help. He expects a whole superpower to drop their global issues just to read a 30-year-old civil court case file. Someone needs to tell him that foreign politicians do not hold the keys to the local ballot boxes. Your thoughts? That last commentator cannot be more correct. Now, we have been in this issue, this red herring of civil forfeiture, this and that, every election cycle. I think it started as far back as shortly after the 1999 election, when President Bola Tinubu became the governor of Lagos State. Since then, these documents have shown up during every election cycle in which President Bola Tinubu has been involved. And the resolution has been the same at the end of the day. The most recent being the 2023 general elections in Nigeria, when, petitioners, I think it was Mr. Obi at the time, went to the Presidential Election Petition Court to say that President Bola Tinubu, as candidate of the APC, should have been disqualified because he had a matter in the United States. This is the same thing that the ADC, right? That's the party of ADC.
Of
ADC, yes.
Atiku Abubakar. That's the same thing they've gone to exhume. The same basic material facts about heroin trafficking, forfeiture of $460,000, and then they are going to Donald Trump. Von Basten, that's the name of the PR firm that has dredged this up again. They are talking to Trump. They are talking to Department of Justice. They are talking about a freedom of information disclosure by one lawyer at a certain time. Just the same story all over again. Just to make a few points. The first is, I don't think anything will come out of it because we are dealing with two different jurisdictions here. And that particular matter, no matter how it was resolved in the United States, has not even been registered in Nigeria. So you can't just go and exhume something without following the due legal process. That's one. Number two is that Alhaji Atiku Abubakar is spending over $1.2 million.
Yes, $1.2 million.
$1.2 million to go and hire a PR firm in Washington. Now, we have PR firms here in Nigeria that are also doing very well. We have the Institute of Public Relations. We have distinguished public relations experts. Now, a man who wants to rule Nigeria, if he is giving out business, why doesn't he encourage the PR industry in Nigeria? There's nothing that Von Basten will do, whether to dredge up some material or to lobby in Washington, that we don't have people, PR firms with even international connections that they cannot do here in Nigeria. That's the second point. Right. The third point here is that people are saying Trump should take a decision on Nigeria. It's not Trump that will come and determine the outcome of 2027 election. And I think that it's some kind of unpatriotic pitch to think that, oh, if you blackmail a candidate in the Nigerian election, then Donald Trump will step in and say, this is what I want in Nigeria. Those who want to rule Nigeria should also respect the sovereignty of Nigeria and not go and lobby outsiders to come and embarrass Nigeria. The fourth point, and I think I can stop on that, is to say that the 2027 general elections should be determined by the Nigerian people. Whatever material fact anybody wants to protest, whatever present, whatever campaign anybody wants to push, let them do it here in a very competent and robust manner, and let the Nigerian people be given the opportunity to make an informed choice.
Right.
Nobody should dictate to Nigerians. Nobody is going to say you must vote for Tinubu by force.
I know everybody
you should be able to make your choice.
It's just a sentence from you, because you have spoken.
Just a sentence and a question. Dr. Abati, why didn't you also slam the federal government for going to employ American PR firm? Why didn't they employ?
It's the same logic. It's the same logic. We have a PR industry here that is thriving.
Go ahead.
We have experts. We have experts here. I'm sure you all know some PR experts here.
We need to do a balance. Just
going to waste public funds and good resources.
I don't think he has a right. He's within his rights to pursue this matter. And I do think that this matter of the forfeiture, like Dr. Vata said, has come up a number of times. Yes, it wasn't. But it's just the way that and the low level of expectations when it comes to leadership recruitment that we have that will sweep things like this under the carpet.
Right.
In any country, you would want to pursue it to the last. However, having said that, as a patriotic Nigerian this morning, I do think that we have to get to a point. I mean, I was talking about aid the other day. They said, no aid. Well, I say we should not collect aid, but any small matter like this to go and report to President Trump. Somebody comes to go and report to President Trump. Wait. What he's saying is that what he wants to do is, from what I see, is to cause embarrassment, especially because President Tinubu in 2 years is going to hunger and would meet with President Trump.
But he did the same in the 2023 election.
Yes, but it wasn't fruitful. So he knows he will not be fruitful. He got to the Supreme Court. But what I'm saying is that this is not just about Tinubu. It is the office of the president, and he represents every single Nigerian. Okay. My concern with this is that in pursuing political interest, do not drag the whole country into disrepute. Unfortunately, or whatever reason, he is the sitting president, and whatever we think we want to embarrass one man, it is a gross embarrassment to the nation of Nigeria. And I don't think that we should carry every matter and go to the United States in this neo-colonialism to come and intervene and say, we're giving too much power to the United States at this point.
Well said. Thank you.
trade problems with Mexico
your
and
government
Canada.
sends lobby.
And leave Nigeria alone.
Plenty problems.
It's the same thing.
Well, all right.
Your government send lobby.
No,
to
that's
buy everything.
collaboration.
Wait
Okay.
now. Which collaboration? Collabo. Your government sends lobby
Right.
to go and beg
It's
him
the direct
to come and help you fight
experience.
Boko
We have a
Haram here.
sense of pride
Your,
as a nation.
your
We
government
need to have
went
a
to
sense
meet
of pride.
him. We sent our NSC to go and meet him.
All right.
And thank
Thank you all. Thank you all for your submission. Thank you.
No.
Thank you for your
This is
submission.
about choice. Let us make our choice.
Choice.
Well, all right. In Osun State, sporadic gunfire was reported across the state capital, Osogbo, for 2 consecutive days as rivals.
All right, viewers, I thank you for coming along with me. Please, if you have not subscribed to YangaLife channel, click on the subscription button, notification bell, like our videos, and don't forget to share it. Until I come your way next time.